Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're playing out one of my favorite ships and build combinations in the entire game. It's hard to play, but Lighthouse Salem, and don't you worry, I'll explain what Lighthouse means if you don't know. Lighthouse Salem is incredibly difficult, but so rewarding to play. The absolute shenanigans you can get up to, full sending in with such incredible DPM, and this super heal, it's very fun for me. Now, by the 4-minute mark or so after we started firing, we're gonna have 200,000 damage. So buckle up. This is going to rack up very quickly. We're quite on our own on this flank, which tends to happen when you full push in. We do have a destroyer to support us here. That's not always gonna be the case. I often don't survive these situations, but the reason I enjoy playing this so much is the action-focused combat at close range that typically arises when we can play aggressively like this. Salem's super heal somewhat enables that alongside this incredible armor piercing. Improved pen angles, 203s, and we're reloading these in 4 seconds. It's very, very, very powerful. Now, this destroyer, again, helping us out a ton. I didn't get this in many matches, but it's very nice that we do, so we'll be sure to comp him afterwards. Our smoke fire, though, unfortunately doesn't quite allow us to take full advantage of this. Columbo's a very scary target, as we have known over the past few months since its legendary mod. This is a ship that we can actually fully angle to. He does not overmatch our bow. 27 millimeters bow armor here means that his 381 mil guns don't get through that. And at such close ranges, he's not getting as much plunging fire, so the sap isn't going to get as many guaranteed full pens. This is a rare situation where you can actually angle to Columbo. It's got to be very close range though, any sort of plunging fire, and suddenly it's guaranteed full pens. Now, as we watch this armor-piercing rack up, let me talk to you a little bit about Lighthouse builds. If you're unaware, there's some skills in the cruiser tech tree that allow you to buff your reload and your alpha damage when enemies are within your detection circle. So, if we take as many anti-detection upgrades we can, so we don't take anything to deal with concealment, and in fact, we take things like heavy HE for 3 points that buffs our HE alpha damage by 10%, but also gives us a 15% detectability penalty, we can activate some of these DPM skills more often. Right now, we're activating one called Top Grade Gunner. You can see that just below our rudder there. The reload icon, that's 8% main gun reload anytime an enemy ship is spotted within our detection range, which we're always getting with these builds. The tricky part is how to stay alive, but the extra damage is beautiful. Here we're also activating another skill called Outnumbered. This one is a little bit less to do with Lighthouse builds. You don't need to have this crazy detect. This is just more enemies within your gun range than friendlies. And this is amazing because it gives us 10% better dispersion. That's why suddenly Salem looked incredibly accurate into that Stalingrad Citadel. It also gives us 8% ship speed. Combining that with propulsion mod means we're a little bit more maneuverable here. We're about to get rushed on either side of this island by destroyers with torpedoes, very scary, as well as that Schlieffen coming around the north side. But there's also a Vermont creating a crossfire in the south. We're kind of cooked here. However, we can try and make a play. Prop mod, rudder mod instead of conceal mod allows us to turn in and avoid some of the Vermont. Stalingrad blocks Delny Torps. His back turret gets us, but we'll get him instead. Although I think Regulo finishes us off. 200,000 damage in about 4 minutes there. And we're pretty much on our own. Outside of that DD. Thank you, Alvaro. Make sure you compliment your good DD players. They're pretty rare these days, okay? Make sure you comp the good ones. Anyways, moving on. We shot a lot of armor piercing and we will continue. I think the Des Moines guns, that's the same guns we have here on Salem, are mostly armor piercing focused. The HE is still incredible. The DPM here is wild. It's off the charts for both the HE and the AP. I just love how consistent the damage is with this armor piercing. Citadels, full pens, even into angled ships, it does an incredibly good job. Now, I full sent that very risky island, and we got away with it. That is about a 50-50 play for me. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, okay? I don't want you to start thinking that I'll get away with that all the time. No, no, no. But there's plenty of ways to play a Lighthouse ship like this with the full anti-concealment build And you don't get punished for it quite as much. When there's maps like this one, there's plenty of islands that you can get to fairly safely off spawn, where you don't have to worry about all those crossfires coming in. And then you just get to take full advantage of these nice reload buffs. Should say we're also running reload mod here, not range mod or anything like that. It's all about the DPM. And generally we're going to be close enough that we don't need that extra range. Des Moines Salem guns have rather poor shell velocity, which makes them perfect for firing over so many islands in this game. It also means that they're hard to use at range. However, there is still a good reason to shoot this HE, okay? We're getting a lot of citadels with the AP. I love it, but the HE lights a ton of fires and does a ton of damage as well, thanks to that heavy HE and sap. So Stalingrad damage controlled, he's instantly on a double permanent fire here. And even into a Stalingrad, which we have to do superstructure, we're getting some very nice alpha damage out of this opportunity as well. The guns are just incredible here. One of the main reasons that I really love this build and this ship so much, even though it's such an old ship, an old hull, the Citadel is above water and exposed. You get overmatched all day because of the 30 millimeters of armor, upper belt, and deck armor. It's not it's somewhat maneuverable, but it's not the most maneuverable cruiser, let's be honest. So it's hard to play, but something I absolutely adore. Let's take an example where I do actually just get smashed. Okay, we don't always just get away with it. Here we're going to eat a massive crossfire from the main. The new map is incredible for this build, as long as, yeah, you're not getting spotted through those islands or over those islands. Plane spotting or a radar Minotaur, which is what I was not expecting here. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of HP here very early on. Manteuffel gets the shot over the island, and there goes the rest of our HP. Now, this is going to be one of the closer matches of the day, tons of blowouts, and we're going to be needed to actually help our team win this one. We have less than 10,000 HP, and that's not a lot of healing left alongside another Hydro to keep us lit. So how do we stay alive? Well, that is the other secret sauce of a Lighthouse build. Yes, you're detected. Yes, everyone knows where you are and can shoot at you. That's kind of why we call it Lighthouse. You get better maneuverability, okay? So typically you're already running propulsion mod. This is what allows us to, say, slow down and speed up a lot quicker. Minotaur's got our number right now, so it's time to change direction since he knows where the lead point is. So we can slow down and then speed up going forward a little bit quicker thanks to propulsion mod. But also, instead of concealment mod in slot 5, we're taking steering gears mod. That is 40% better rudder shift. And these little tiny changes to your rudder actually throw off the aiming system a lot, because it's trying to predict where the enemy is going to go, or rather, it's trying to pull the shells you fire towards where the aiming system thinks the enemy ship is going to go. There is aim assist in this video game that you cannot disable. So we can take advantage of that. We can abuse it, because this aiming system, this aim assist, is not very smart. It's not taking into account the change in direction or the change in velocity. All it's thinking about is at the exact moment you fire, how fast is this ship going and what heading is it in. As soon as you touch your rudder and your propulsion, that throws off the aim assist. Or rather, you just dodge the shells because the aim assist pulls the shells where you would have been instead of where you are now going to. As someone who plays Battleship a lot, it's very frustrating, okay? But when we're playing these cruisers, we gotta abuse it, okay? Especially on only 7,000 HP. Now, we do have a heal left, and this is one of the unfortunate parts about Salem, I will say. This ship has a super heal, which is incredible. You get more total healing than Des Moines, but it's not like a Minotaur super heal, for example. You take full pen damage, you take pen damage, and unfortunately, it's not gonna heal very much of that back. This is one of the reasons why things like Valparaiso seem so insane. It heals back like 85% pen damage. So it always is getting full value out of those like 8 heals it gets. With Salem, we don't. And so even though I have a super heal remaining, we've taken too much Citadel damage and too much full pen damage to actually heal anything back. So you still have to be a little bit careful, even though you do have this nice super healing. 6 Citadels in 2 salvos into a Kushiro at range. Don't sleep on these guns, guys. Seriously, they are incredible. Some of my favorite cruiser guns in the game. I love me some, Lighthouse Colbert, things like that. Watching John perform that all the time. So impressive. For me, though, I miss out on the armor piercing, okay? I think that's why, for me, I just prefer a ship like Salem to run this crazy Lighthouse troll build on. It's difficult, but man, it's so rewarding, especially with that armor piercing. Daring going for a YOLO play, and we're using Hydro. This is a question that I got a couple times while I was playing this on stream, recording this video. Why Hydro instead of radar? 8.5 kilometer radar is certainly useful and would be nice in a lot of these situations. However, if we're pushing in, it's nice to have a Hydro. Things like submarines are very difficult to deal with without a Hydro. Now, Hydro's not the best against subs, of course, because underwater, it only spots them at 2 kilometers. I don't understand that. I don't want to talk about balancing decisions with subs and carriers. That's not what this is about, and it's only going to get me mad, so we'll move on. The other reason is for torpedoes. Pushing in, trying to push up, you become a prime target for those torp boats. They hardly see anyone push in anymore because the meta is so passive at high tier. So when you do push in, yeah, they're getting pretty excited. So getting that Hydro is extremely valuable. The other reason is we're often playing on some very aggressive islands. You know, see that first clip. It's nice to be able to spot the enemy ships on the other side of that island for more duration. The Hydro just lasts a little bit longer. So for me, in this playstyle in particular, I personally do prefer that Hydro. Now maybe why not Des Moines or even Legendary Mod Des Moines? Even more maneuverability. Well, it's also actually very good at this. But the super heal allowing me to heal through bursts of damage, even if maybe the total healing isn't that different. It's still better on Salem, but it's not that different. That bursty heal is very nice, but also being able to run Hydro and defensive AA at the same time. And now I know, AA is a bit of a joke, I understand, but it's nice to have that D-Fire as a bit of a deterrent when we're playing this absurdly aggressive. You become the #1 priority target for anyone on the enemy team when you push in, and certainly for a carrier. So having that option to run both that Hydro and D-Fire, I personally really like. Now we managed to get 143k here, 2.1k base, and a ton of that damage coming from armor piercing, all below 10k HP for most of that battle. So we lost all our HP, that was not good, but you can survive. It's possible, although that new map certainly gives you a lot of opportunities to play around islands. Very few of the older maps do that, although they did change Okinawa. That was one of the problem ones this update. Still haven't really played that one, unfortunately. Looking forward to it, though. I was kind of hoping I would actually get it here with the Lighthouse Salem build. Speaking of planes coming after us when we're all alone, yeah, it's nice to have D-Fire, okay? This match, we are actually going to get an E. I'll spoil that for you. This is the E game here because just pure damage output brings a lot of utility for your team on any flank, and especially on flanks where there are ships like Libertads, for example. Very difficult to take them out, but this ship can light a ton of fires very quickly, and if it goes broadside, that armor piercing absolutely slaps. I just love how consistent the 5k alpha damage salvos are with that armor piercing into upper belts of enemy battleships. Feels great, and around a 4-second reload is pretty crazy as well. Now, playing aggressive on islands, you're often going to find that enemies will try and dig you out of these positions. This is why we need to get to islands and not just play like open water Lighthouse build. Sometimes you'll see me do that, and others do that with ships like Hindenburg or Clausewitz, ships that can more easily play that open water playstyle. It's not as doable, I find, with Salem. So we want to play close range, and if enemies try to dig us out of these positions, we snuggle up right close to that island and force them to come take 1v1s with us as much as possible. Because in a 1v1, sure, we may lose a lot of HP, especially to those overmatching battleships, but we out DPM pretty much everything with this armor piercing in particular and this build. We would also love to see a Confed with Halsey, but I'm sorry, I did not have time to actually get myself a Confed Halsey proc. But in that case, you're getting like a sub 3-second reload. Even still, with a sub 4-second reload on these guns is absolutely wild. Speaking of enemies trying to dig us out of a very powerful position, destroyers will come YOLO you around islands. They probably shouldn't, but in some cases it works. See that first clip where the, I believe it was a Regalo and a Delny, YOLOing either side, pushed us out into a worse position. It was a good play on their part. Here, though, this gearing, I would say, mistimed it or misjudged it a little bit, and Hydro is just enough to keep him lit through that smoke so we can take him out. Lepanto coming around the corner as well. Another example where we can angle to him. But here, notice what I'm also doing. I'm putting my bow very close to this island. If this Lepanto was able to overmatch through us, he wouldn't be able to get citadels very easily through our bow if we snuggle up very close to this island. Our guns can shoot over, but he won't be able to target low enough to overmatch our nose and then into the front of our citadel. Now I'm backing off here because, again, maneuverability, throwing off enemies' aim just a little bit is what I want to do here. But if this Lepanto, say, had 406s or higher that overmatch our bow, I would be a little bit more cautious about that. Perhaps against 406s, I would even elect to show a little more broadside. We would show like 30 degrees of broadside and then angle in as soon as he shot. Because our upper belt is 30 millimeters, I want to bait him to shoot our side and then try and bounce it that way. It's very challenging, okay? I don't want you to take away that this is an easy play style. But what I wanted to show you was just some absurd fun that can be had with even some of these older cruisers with such a ridiculous build. A few tweaks, which we'll look at the build after this game. After a few tweaks, you can still get 95% of this DPM and this playstyle without actually running a like 15.5 kilometer range detect. You can get that down a long ways by just skipping on a couple skills and taking a few concealment upgrades, and it's a lot more playable. In fact, I would recommend most people run that, even to myself. But it's a little bit catchy in the title to run full Lighthouse, isn't it? I would prefer a little bit better concealment than this, but it has a better ring to it, and honestly, I had a lot of fun still playing this way. Torpedoes, the reason we want Hydro, and I decided to push when my Hydro was down. Bit of a mistake there, yeah? I don't always play it perfectly, but that's the reason that we want those Hydros, pushing up between islands, completely undetected Yamagiri the entire battle, was not even paying attention, lands his torps on us. You gotta watch out for them. So having that Hydro, again, just extremely valuable. On these very solo flanks, our team's doing pretty good in this one. We actually activate outnumbered quite a lot. That's one of my favorite cruiser skills as of late. And this one, again, it does not require you to actually have such crazy poor detection to make use of it. It's all about your main gun range. In this case, it's actually good that we're running reload mod instead of range mod. That way, the ships in the B cap, Bremen, Palmer, and Yamagiri aren't actually impacting the calculation there. We have one enemy spotted within our range. Well, we did in that Van Spike, and one friendly, the Holland. And since that's equal, we actually do get that buff. It's really nice. You don't have to have more. It's more or equal to the number of allies and enemies in your detection. Bit of cleanup here towards the end. The enemies were in spawn here. 2.4 million potential damage out of this one, and a little bit more health towards the end. Although, again, we didn't take that many citadels, I don't think, in this one, although we did eat that torpedo, which is more permanent damage. And again, one heal left over. We don't get a whole lot of value out of it. It is no Minotaur heal when it comes to Salem, and if you're expecting that, I think you will be disappointed in this ship. Probably just go with Des Moines. This, of course, is a very minor side grade to Des Moines. So if you already have Des Moines, you don't need to spend all the coal to actually get yourself a Salem. But it does help this particular risky playstyle quite a lot. So that absolutely ridiculous build that I was running looked like this. We're taking Halsey, and yeah, we're a little bit left side of these commander skills heavy. We're usually over here with superintendent, survivability expert, concealment expert, things like that. Not so here with this build. Heavy AP, heavy HE. Top grade gunner, outnumbered, and adrenaline rush. Very expensive to buff our guns this much, and of course costs us in concealment. We're not taking this upgrade here. Since the HE and that AP is so good, upgraded gun feeder here is incredible. Even with such a fast reload, I find it incredibly nice to have gun feeder, allowing me to instantly swap and not having to even, I don't know, 4.8 second base reload, close to 4 seconds as soon as we're activating top grade gun or a little AR. I know, maybe I should be more patient, but with this build, I just want to have the perfect ammo type all the time, and that is really nice there. As is Grease the Gears. Okay, this is a slow turret traverse. This is like Ohio level turret traverse. That has 457s, by the way. It's an old ship design, and that comes in the form of the armor as well. Now, Des Moines and Salem, if you can believe it, on release of this game, had only 27 millimeters of armor here. So even Montana and Iowa, North Carolina, Amagi, Izumo, every battleship you faced with Salem, or well, Des Moines back in the day, Salem wasn't introduced till a little later. Every battleship you fought overmatched you everywhere, even down to tier 7. Sometimes you would get those full down tiers. Yeah, 30 millimeters feels a lot like that, like it did back in the day. It's nice to have against a few of those battleships, but a lot of 30 mil overmatch still exists. And then, well, that's a pretty exposed citadel. We still have some of these cruisers coming into the game with exposed citadels. Not as many though, and this is an older design, okay? And you will pay for it if you show too much broadside, as well as just overmatchable stern sections. It's a larger cruiser, and so that extra maneuverability is quite nice. Trying to kite with it, anything like that, you can. Certainly possible, but it's very difficult. Much harder than something like a Hindenburg, for example. The equipment here looked a little something like this here. So taking steering gears mod instead of conceal, and taking hydro mod, actually. Trying to get a little more duration out of that. Notice no superintendent, so a little more duration there is useful. But no superintendent, and still that third heal, I was often not getting full value of. And now a lot of that is because I was playing so risky and I was taking a lot of permanent damage early. So if you play a little more passive, then you can probably get a little more value out of that third heal than I could. But then if you're playing more passive, you're not having those fun close quarters combats that I enjoy so much and kind of showcased here in this video. Again, it didn't always work out. In fact, a lot of times I would just explode en route to those very aggressive islands, but it's fun to show off some of the more risky, enjoyable gameplay. Now, I did say you can get most of this playstyle without actually having such poor detect as like 15.5 or whatever we had. So you can run this instead. So you remove heavy HE and sap shells, you remove outnumbered, and you remove heavy AP. And instead, you gain Superintendent, you gain more HP early on, which helps your healing, right? It's based on your base HP value. And Concealment Expert. That puts us at 12.1, and we still get the 5.2 second rudder shift time here out of Rudder Mod. If you wanted to, again, get even better detect at the cost of that rudder shift, you can always swap over to Conceal, and you're back to 10.9. Very comfortable detect, allowing you to push up and maybe get to some of those aggressive islands without being spotted. So then you don't need the better maneuverability to actually survive getting to that island. That is also a very legitimate point, and probably an easier way to play this ship overall. You still get that base 4.8 second reload, and you still get top grade gunner. But remember that 8% reload only comes through when an enemy is spotted within that concealment range, which is now 10.9, not 15.5. So you're not getting quite as much value out of it. But let's be honest, Salem already has such great DPM, and if you play it aggressive, we're probably within 10.9 kilometers of an enemy anyway, most of those battles that I was showcasing earlier. So this is a great way to also build your Salem if you're interested, want to dip your toe into some more aggressive DPM focused play without going full send on such a crazy Lighthouse build. I had a lot of fun with this one. I don't know, I just woke up today and felt like playing a Lighthouse Salem. It was difficult. Not every game went as well as the ones I showed you, don't worry. But I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys did too. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.